We are live, we are live. Welcome to the conversation. I am your host, Dineo Keebine, and my guest today is Sam X. So I'm going to invite him so that we can begin the conversation. Hi, Puseloto. Thank you for joining the conversation. I'm inviting my guest. Hi, Ratanan. Thank you for joining the conversation. I'm still inviting my guest. Let's wait for him to enter. Hi, Vitumelo. Thank you for joining the conversation. So, Max, whenever you're ready, please bless us with your presence. There goes our guest, Max. I don't know if you can hear me. I think your network is a little bit weak.
Let me check something.
Okay. Hi, Bakita. Thank you for joining the conversation. Are you good?
I'm still trying to sort myself
Okay,
out.
let me
I will be in few.
Thank you, Butali B, for joining the conversation. I see you. Are you good now?
I'm good. I'm good. D, can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can you see me?
Yes, can you like adjust a little bit so we can see you properly? Because I feel like we're not seeing you
All
properly.
right. All right.
Just a little bit.
All right.
Thank you, Pulani El Mungale, for joining the conversation. Thank you, Silo James Manku, for joining. We thank you guys for joining the conversation. I think Semex's network is a little bit weak, but let's hope for the best. I lost my guest. Let me re-invite Samex once again. I think our guest's network is very, very weak. Thank you guys for joining the conversation. Thank you, Mwanali Sute, for joining. I hope I'm saying your name right. Let's wait for our guest. Thank you to me 2.2 for joining the conversation. We are talking to Sam X. Our topic is new thinking in the new normal. I'm waiting for him to join back. I think he's having. Hello.
How is it?
Is your That was good.
Yes.
Okay. Can we begin?
I am happy to start having this conversation with you.
Yes. Let me start by thanking you for joining us on this platform. I am very pleased to have you here, and I believe that we're going to have a very interesting and an incredible conversation. Let me also jump into the introduction just to give a brief who are joining the conversation. My guest today is Sir Max. I am your host, Dineo Keebine, and we're going to be talking about new thinking in the new normal. If you don't know who Sir Max is a knowledge man, he's a radio host, he's an author, he's a speaker, and we know him to inspire us with his incredible knowledge. So, new thinking in the new normal. Let us know what you think about the conversation, and do not hesitate to ask us questions. New thinking in the new normal, Sir Max. We are in the new normal. It's uncomfortable, it's uncertain, it's difficult, but you are saying that we need to have a new mindset. We need to have a new thinking, and maybe this is where we can begin the conversation for it. Why is a thinking such a crucial part of our living?
Dee, thank you very much. It's such a great honor, man. I'm so honored. I'm shaking right now, not because not because I'm fearful, but because of so much honor that you have bestowed upon me. So thank you very
Thank
much for the
you.
opportunity.
Thank you.
The world has changed. The world as we know it has changed, Dee. And
Absolutely.
I'm sure even people who did not believe, that the world has changed, now it's evident that the world as we know it, it has changed. In
Yeah.
fact, in the past 30 years, 3 decades back, the researchers came with a concept that they called VUCA. They say we are living in a VUCA world,
Yes.
volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous world. But
Mm.
just recently, researchers are saying even VUCA does not clearly define or articulate or deal with the speed in which this world has changed. Now we have a concept that is called Bani, that we are living in a Bani world. We are no longer just living in a VUCA world, but now we are now
Mm.
living in a Bani world. Bani meaning
Yeah.
it's a brittle world, meaning it can shatter anytime. It's easy to shatter. It is an anxious world where everyone is anxious today. Everything is anxious because you don't know what you're gonna do tomorrow. And then
Mm.
N stands for non-linear. So we are living in a non-linear world where even companies do. I mean, before companies used to do 3 year strategic plan, but today you can't plan for 3 years from now on. I mean, all what
Yeah.
companies can do right now is it's 6 months, 12 months plan.
Mm.
I mean, as
Mm.
people, we used to ask people, what are your plans in the next 5 years? But we can't ask that question again because the world that we're living in, it's a non-linear world. So it's a short, we have to immerse ourselves in the wisdom of living in the present. So it's a
Yeah.
non-linear world. And then I stand for incomprehensible. It's a very incomprehensible world because there's no logic that follow the events in the world that we live in today. So before there would be sign that something is going to crack, before there would be sign that something's changed. But today, just like that, in a snap of a
Mm.
finger, anything can change. So we are living, in fact, I prefer the word new world as opposed to new normal. That's what I prefer because the world everywhere I see the term new normal has been normalized, but there's nothing normal about the time that we find ourselves in, to be honest.
Yeah.
Uh, it's abnormal. We're living in an abnormal world, but rather, we need the consciousness to say we are living in a new world. So if we are
Mm.
to survive, if we are to become successful, if we are to thrive in the time
Yes.
that we find ourselves in, it means we need a new way of thinking because yesterday's thinking will not help us to, number one, to survive, and number two, to thrive in the world that we find ourselves in. That is why I'm saying we need a new thinking in a new world.
Yeah. But then we have been moved. I second what you're saying. We have been moved, we have been shaken. We are in this new realm, we are in this new shift. How do we come to terms with this shift?
And I'm happy that you are using an important phrase there.
Yeah.
Shift. It's a
Yes.
very important word because we have shifted. In fact,
Mm.
for the past 5 years, if not more, I
Yeah.
have been speaking about this shift, which I call the quantum global shift of the brain for the past
Yes.
5 years.
Yeah.
And what does this mean? What does this shift mean, the quantum global shift of the brain? It means there's a shift in global consciousness.
Mm.
It means there's a shift in how we look at the world because everything as we know it around us, it has changed. And I'll make an
Yeah.
example, D.
Yeah.
When I did matric, it was in the industrial age. We were told, go to school, get your degree so that you can work for a big company. It was in the industrial
Yes.
age. You
Yeah.
understand? You were told, go to school, get your law degree so that you can work for a big law firm. That was in the
Mm.
industrial age. But with a shift, with a quantum global shift of the brain, we are now living in a knowledge economy, in a knowledge era, where the economies of the world are no longer based on jobs or on labor, but are actually based on ideas. We have
Yes.
reached a state as humanity where now we are in a contest of ideas right now. It's about the type of ideas that you have. I mean, I'm not sure about you, but when I went to school, we were told that education is the key to success. And
Absolutely.
today's young people, everywhere I go, when I give talks in schools, they ask me the question, Semex, is education still the key to success? But not only that, D, even parents today, they are faced with a big
Mm.
question. And the question
Yeah.
is, should I still send my kid to school?
It's
In
cool.
fact,
Yeah.
they are saying, why should I send my kid to school? I mean,
Mm.
that's a shift. That's a shift that we're talking about. I mean, in religion, D, we know that in churches, there are many people who never saw their lives outside the church walls because for them it was everything. But those
Yeah.
walls have shattered right now. People are exposed. But most interestingly, we are beginning to see, even within the religion space,
Yeah.
sermons that were before banned or not accepted within the religious spaces. We start to see those conversations now being accepted. I mean, in business, how we do business today, it has completely changed. We now start to see, even in politics, power is shifting from politicians into civil movements, into powerful people. So basically, this is a big shift that I call the quantum global shift of the brain. And I say for
Yeah.
those who've just joined the conversation right now, to say we need a new thinking in
Mm.
this new world because you're not
Yeah.
going to make it if you're not going to adjust your new way
Yeah.
of thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we don't want to be left behind. We don't want to be left behind. We live by habit. We live by habitual behavior. What are some of the old habits that we need to break away from in order to make room for new habits so that we can be able to adapt to this new normal?
Mm.
Mm.
One of the biggest things is a program that I've designed actually now for the new world, both for individuals and for organizations,
Yeah.
is that we need to shift from headset into heartset.
Okay.
I'm going to say that again. We need to shift from headset into heartset. Let me explain what I mean by that.
Mm.
In the past 50 years, an amazing research was made and it revealed amazing results. And it was discovered that 65% of the muscles in a human heart are
Yeah.
actually neural cells. So what
Yeah.
does that mean? It means 65% of a human heart are actually thinking cells.
Yes.
Because before, it was just believed that they are just cells, but not neural cells.
Mm.
So this astonishing medical scientific research discovered that 65% of a human heart is actually neural cells. Now, this says to us, it means our hearts have got thoughts. It means our hearts have got the capacity to think. Now, there's a very interesting Bible in the verse, D, that many people like, but they don't read it properly. It says, as a man thinketh, so is he. That's what we normally quote. But in fact, this verse says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Yeah.
So many people, they skip the phrase in his heart. Yeah, they just say, as a man thinketh, so is he. So it says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That was King Solomon. Now, what does that mean, D? It means we need to shift from the thinking of the head to the thinking of the heart. Let me explain what I mean by that. What I mean by that is a human being has got two components of mind.
Yeah.
We've got what we call the conscious mind, which is based on the five senses. You know, what you can see, what you can touch, what you can do. It's our where our intelligence is housed in the conscious mind. Now, our education, our work, our relationships, our lives basically have been formatted and built around the conscious mind, which is the headset. But I'm calling for a shift from a conscious mind, but to go into the subconscious mind, which is a human heart. And when I say from headset to heartset, I'm saying from the thinking of the head to the thinking of the heart. I'm not talking more about heart as a blood pumping organ, but I'm talking about your subconscious mind. I'm talking about your soul. I'm talking about your heart. I'm talking about your spirit. So I'm saying, in order for humanity, number one, to survive ourselves in right now, number one, to survive. Number two, to thrive. We need to move away from the conscious mind and focus into the subconscious mind. We need to start to relate more from the spirit, D. We need to start to work more from the heart. We need to start to the education that speaks to our hearts and not just the education that speaks to our minds. So basically, that's what I mean when I'm saying we need to shift from headset into heartset. All the most successful people, D, are the people who are actually working from their heart, from their spirit. Because the greatest inspiration in the time that we find ourselves in will no longer be found in the head, but it will be found in the heart. But here's the trick. Okay. Here's the trick. The trick is our heads must yield to our hearts. Our heads must actually obey our hearts, because our hearts is what? It is the soul, it is your spirit. But there's a lot of noise within the head, which is the conscious mind. We need a generation now that will start to pay more attention on the heart, on the spirit, and not just on the head.
Yeah. And I second what you just said. Very, very powerful. But we also need to consider that there are so many factors that are contributing to this new normal that we are talking about. This factors include our leadership. How is our leadership, especially in our country, influencing this new normal? How are they influencing into this new normal?
Unfortunately, D, I wish. Unfortunately, I wish we had leadership.
Yeah.
Particularly in South Africa. Unfortunately, we don't have leadership. And I'm going to say this without any fear of contradiction.
Yes. We lost your audio.
Live here, so I. Yeah. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Continue.
We don't have leadership, D. And mainly because these leaders do not have a vision. These politicians do not have, one of the biggest mistakes that we made was to leave the fate of humanity into politicians. That is one of the greatest tragedies that humanity is facing right now. We do not have leaders because the success of every nation is based on the capacity and the ability of its leaders. But unfortunately, we find ourselves where we do not have leaders. That is why I like the statement when I say, lack of leadership is the root of all evil. I mean, look at what is happening in our country today. There's no vision. There are no values. You know, people are just doing as they please and just hoping that one day things will be fixed. We do not have leaders, unfortunately. But what we need right now, what South Africa needs and what Africa needs today, we need leadership that will be inspired from the heart. We need the leadership that will lead from the heart. We need leaders that are going to invoke the heart. Because there's no way you can be selfish. There's no way you can be corrupt. There's no way you can be self-centered when you are leading from the heart. But because we've got leaders who are driven by ego, who's more about what they can get as opposed to what is it that they can give to people. So, and I think we need to say it as it is. South Africa is leaderless. South Africa does not have leadership. But here's the thing. The problem is not just politicians. No. The problem is not just politicians. The problem is the society, D. Where do these politicians come from? Where do these leaders come from? They come from the society. So it means as a society, if we're not going to be able to produce quality leaders, we cannot blame them when they get there because they did not fall from heaven. These are the people who were produced from this society. So it means as a society, we need to look at ourselves and say, as a nation, what are our values? What are our priorities? What is it that we want? What is it that is driving the agenda of our life? And if our current values do not help us to produce the quality of the leaders that we want, maybe this is the time that we need to relook and to change the production that we are giving.
Powerful. I second that. And to everyone who's joining the conversation, please let us know what you think. Don't hesitate to ask make some questions. I'm sure you guys are finding this conversation interesting. Now, as we are speaking about leadership, having your experience in leadership, what are some of the approaches that you think maybe our leaders or the leadership can use in response to what's happening in the world right now, in our country right now, not just to COVID, but to losing lives, to people being jobless, to so many things. I mean, this thing has assaulted our faith, it has assaulted our sanity. What are some of the approaches that they can use to strengthen their response to what's happening right now?
That's a very beautiful question. That's a very beautiful question, Dee. There's another beautiful phrase. There's another beautiful phrase in the Bible that says, when there's no vision, the people will perish. When there's no leadership, people will perish. We need the leaders. We need the leaders who care. We need the leaders who come to serve and not to be served. But here's a problem. We live in a society where from home to school to our society, we are taught to take and not to give. We are taught to be served and not to serve. That is why we are producing self-centered leaders who don't care. But what I'm saying, to answer your question directly, we need leaders. We need leadership that cares for the people. Because the current leaders, they do not care for people. We need the leaders who care, number one. Number two, we need vision, BD. I cannot overemphasize the importance of vision when coming to leadership. Where you are right now and where you want to go. We need vision. I mean, America was built over what is known as the American dream. And when we have that vision board as a nation, that becomes a blueprint of all our efforts in the world or in the country where we want to go. Every single human being that still has got breath in it will actually be inspired by the blueprint that has been painted by what was known as the American dream. As we form our businesses, we know that our businesses are in pursuit of what you know as an American dream. In the civil movement, the societies, the clinic, the public health system, we know that we are there to achieve the American dream. China did it. Vision 1000 in China. China was not such a great country, 50 years back. It was not. China was far ahead, but they had what is called China 1000, Vision 1000, where they knew they had a vision board. They knew the blueprint that what they want to produce out of China. Japan, when you look at Japan 50 years back and Japan today, they had leaders who've got a vision, leaders who care about people, leaders who knew where they wanted to go. Today, we don't have an African dream. We just wish, we just have an illusion of an African dream, let alone a South African dream. We are 27 years right now into democracy, 27 years, D. In fact, one can potentially say we have regressed as far as leadership is concerned. Because today, me and you, when we speak about leadership, unfortunately, we have to talk about Nelson Mandela. We'll still be talking about Kwame Nkrumah. We'll still be talking about His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie. We have to go back to generations, Julius Nyerere, Jomo Kenyatta, Robert Mugabe. We have to go back. But in the past 10 years, in the past 20 years, in South Africa, we still talk about your Nkgopotse Tiro. We still talk about O.R. Tambo. But in the past 10 years, if we can say, how many leaders, what caliber of leaders have we been able to produce? It means we are not only going through economic recession, but we are also going through leadership recession. So our leaders need to care. Our leaders need to understand that leadership is not a position, but leadership is a function. I'm going to make it a practical example. We're talking about leadership. Last week, the president is announcing cabinet. There's no reshuffle that happened there. Truth be told, and we need to be honest. You are replacing junk with junk. It needs to be said straight as it is. You are replacing A with A. There's no evolution of leadership. There's no inspiration as far as leadership is concerned. We need something new, something fresh. We need visionary that can actually save the country. And just one last point, because this is my passion. You've touched me in the wrong way. The last thing, when COVID-19 started, it did not start in Africa.
That's true.
In fact, one of the most hard-hit regions in the world, it was Europe, particularly Italy. I remember there was a time when Italy, was in a mess at that particular time.
Yeah.
But today, COVID-19, as was expected, it is an African problem. It's no longer a global problem. Why? Because of the quality of the leadership that we have in Africa. My view is the fight against COVID-19 has long passed stages of lockdowns. We have long passed the stages of lockdowns in our fight against COVID-19. You can no longer, when you have failed to lead, you keep on locking the country. You cannot. This is a third world country. This is a developing country. Research is showing us that most of the people in South Africa cannot live a day without having to go to work. It tells of the situation that we find ourselves in. But all that is Mother Africa today is bleeding, is in pain, and is crying for leadership. We need to produce a new level of. These leaders don't care. I don't care who says what. These leaders do not care because we don't have the right leaders.
Absolutely. And maybe let's remove leadership from the equation. What should we be learning as people right now to be able to produce under such constraints? What should we be learning?
In every catastrophe, in every plague, in every crisis, there are positive things that we can take in any crisis. One of the beautiful things that we have learned from this particular period, this period has taught us and is challenging humanity to go within. This period is challenging us as human beings to look for the answers inside of us. For a long time, we've been looking for the answers outside.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
is the time now for humanity to start to focus on the core questions of their souls that we have neglected for a long time. For a long time, we've been riding on noise. We've been riding on, on trends. We've been riding on the wrong things. But this time, what we are learning from this time is we need to start to look from within. One of the greatest thinkers, Garrett Lopoto, made a very profound statement where he said, I searched for answers in the internet and I found none. But I looked inside my heart and I found many. So this is the time where, as a human beings, for solutions and for answers are inside of us. Answers are not outside of us. The answers are inside of us. That is why when I normally talk about another shift, which I'm passionate about, is the shift from the concept of job to the concept of work. Jobs have told us, we've been conditioned to look outside of us for jobs. But this particular period, in this crisis, where it's more about survival, we need to look for inside of us. But what do we find inside of us? We're going to find work. We're going to find our purpose. We're going to find our calling. So that's a positive thing, and that's what I can advise everyone. Any problem, now personal health, just issue of personal health. More than ever before, you start to be mindful of what is it that you are eating in this time. Personal health today is personal wealth. So more people gonna be conscious of what is it that I'm eating, what is it that I'm drinking. So the power becomes more in us. People are asking important questions. Who am I? You understand? Who am I? Why am I here on earth for? What is it that inspires me as a human being? What makes me happy? But all those answers, they're gonna be found inside of us and not outside of us.
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer of what you just said. And socially and economically, we are not active like we used to be. Should we prepare for the worst, or there's a silver lining to all of this, Samex?
What a beautiful question. What a beautiful question, D. I actually like that question. Should we prepare for the worst, or there's hope? I'm a student of life, and I have been tracking. I've been so much obsessed with time. I've been studying, time frames. I've been studying so many around that time in the past 10 years of my life. Now, there's an amazing group of people that lived in Mesoamerica, in Native America, around Guatemala and Mexico. They are known as the Maya people. Now, the Maya people, the Mayans are one of the most successful, have one of the most ancient civilizations that lasted for over 1,000 years. Now, the Mayans predicted that the world will come to an end in 2012. I'm sure you remember that. Yeah, they predicted that the world will come to an end in 2012. So for many people, they thought it is the world, meaning it's the destruction of a physical world as we know it. But no, in fact, what we are seeing today, and the question that you're asking me, the plague, the global crisis that we are going through right now, it's a fulfillment of the Mayan prophecy. It's what the Mayans have predicted, number one. It's also a fulfillment of a prophecy of Baba Credo, Vusamazulu Mutwa, because he predicted that in 2012, Baba Credo, that one star will die and another star will be rising. So it's the end of the world. Now, what does that mean? Why is this important, Day? This narrative and this background is important because you've asked me a question to say, can we expect the worst, or there's a lifeline in what we're doing? I'm saying, D, the world as we know it has come to an end. The world is ended. We are now living in a new world. The old systems have collapsed. The old ways have collapsed. The old human beings have collapsed. The world has ended. And now, this is the dawn of a new world. Now, to answer your question is, the world, the universe is self-correcting. Whether the theories around how COVID-19 came about, but the universe is always self-correcting. So I'm saying we're still gonna experience the best. There's hope in the new world. But remember, for every newness, there must be an end. And the end is always painful. So many people are dying today because the world and the universe is cleansing itself. But I'm saying those people who are conscious, those people who are aware, those people who are enlightened, those people who are going to understand, who have a spiritual tank or who have a spiritual reservoir to navigate through the times that we are going through, those are the people that are going to those are the people that are going to survive the catastrophe that we are going through. So I'm saying the world is ending, but it's ushering a new beginning. And I'm saying we are headed for the best world, for the new life, the new world, where people will know now that power is in the...
I think we lost them, Max. Hello? So Max, we lost you there. Let me read through the comments in the meantime. Ratanang, I think we need to do both, have hope while preparing for the worst. There's still a long road ahead of us. I agree with you. We need to nurture hope, even though we are walking through the valley of death. We really, really need. Hi, welcome back.
Thank you very much. I don't know what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, D.
Yeah, we lost you there. I don't know where can you go back and try to hear what you were saying.
Yeah, I was wrapping up to say in the question that you have asked to expect the worst of the best or the best. I'm saying we need to expect the best. There's hope. There's beauty that is coming in. But for every beauty, there's sadness. For every joy, there's pain. It's the polarities of life. Because the universe is self-cleansing right now. So before the best, we have to go through the worst. But only people who have an understanding or an awareness or the consciousness to make sense of what's happening, those are the people who are going to make it. Relationships have changed, Wenadi. Work as we know it has changed. Everything has changed. So we are not going back there. I pity people who say, no, at the end of this, we are not going back there. We are going forward because this is the dawn of the new world. The world as we know it has ended, and we now need to open our hearts and our souls into connecting with the gravity of the new world.
Yeah, absolutely. Powerful response there, Max. I think maybe you can brief us on how can we reinvent ourselves then in this new world, because some of us are terrified. We are scared. We don't know. We don't have all the answers, just like you. We are scared. We don't know what to do. So how can we reinvent ourselves so that we can adapt to this new world, this new normal?
One advice, D, that I can do is self-knowledge is important. You need to know thyself.
Yeah.
And when I say self-knowledge, because self-knowledge is the highest, in fact, the highest level of knowledge is self-knowledge, is the knowledge of self. So everyone who will bump into this broadcast today, into this session, I'm asking them, number one, to know thyself. Self-knowledge will become key in the time that we find ourselves in. And what do I mean by know thyself? This is the time to know who you truly are. Beyond your name, beyond your position, beyond your possessions, beyond your status, beyond what you have. Who are you?
Yeah.
There are people who cannot define themselves outside what they have. There are people who cannot describe themselves outside their status. You ask a person a simple question, who are you? No, I'm Mrs. So already it's definition according to the status. Now,
Yeah.
when you strip all the things that we have, that we are associated with, when you are stripped naked and say, please tell us who you are, many people will not know who they are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I say know thyself is, you need to go deeper to know, who am I, number one. Number two, why am I here what am I on earth for? Why was I born? Those are the key questions that we now need to go to them to answer them, because in answering these questions, then it guides us on how we start to relate with other people. What is our work? I mean, that's one of the big questions today, because we're asking for jobs. Jobs are obliterated. Jobs are not coming back, D. Unfortunately, I've got to tell people jobs are not coming back, because for a very long time, the economies of the world have been built on jobs and not on work. But it's only by looking within, by knowing who you are, where you can tap into your work. What is my work? You know, who am I and how am I going to interact with the world? So knowing thyself will help many people to reinvent themselves. I mean, let's look at an example in sports. In sports, where I mean, players in soccer, they used to play, in fact, all over the world. I mean, the Olympics that are going on right now in Tokyo, it's for the first time when the stadiums, the auditoriums are empty. So if you were an athlete who didn't know the power that you carry, that no human being is limited, that you've got a power against which the world is powerless. If your performance as an athlete has always been based on the crowd, on people cheering you outside, now what will happen to you when there's no more cheering in? It means now you need to rely on the cheering in of your soul. You need to rely in on the inspiration from your soul and not from the stand. But that comes with the knowledge of self. So if you want to reinvent yourself, I mean, the type of business that you are doing is the question right now as an entrepreneur to ask yourself. Know thyself, because it is in the knowledge of thyself where you're going to get great answers in how we relate, in the type of work that we are doing, in the type of the society that we're trying to build. If you are to build proper health, if you're going to stay healthy, you've got to know thyself. What does this temple like? How does this temple relate? How do you build a proper relationship with this temple? But it all comes back to know thyself.
Yeah, the power of our identity. No, definitely, I agree with
Absolutely.
you. Yeah. And how would you say you are personally reacting to this crisis that we are in? Because you're always positive, you're always one with inspiration. And sometimes I think to myself, Sir Max, and he never has a bad day. Like always, inspiration, positivity each and every day. How are you one with positivity and inspiration? How are you responding to this crisis?
The truth, thank you for another beautiful question, Dee. The
Yeah,
truth is, we live in a toxic world.
very, very toxic.
We live in a sick world.
Mm.
We live in a negative world. I mean, you look at Twitter, you look at the internet, you watch the news, it's negativity. I mean, if I switch on the news right now, we got married to negativity. We've been
That's so true.
oriented to be
Mm.
negative, you know. So I stay away. I'm doing this, and this is conscious. I do it consciously. I do it intentionally. To
Yeah.
say I don't watch news. Not because I don't want to know what is happening. In fact, sometimes I don't even want to know.
Mm.
I don't care. And sometimes I say to people, you know, I don't care what's, you know, the news will, because they are there to bombard us with negativity.
That's
There's no
true.
positivity. There's no hope that we can get from watching the news or from listening to
Yeah.
the news, because negativity sells. We live in a world that says negativity sells. Where are the positive stories? But we do not have those positive stories today. You go to Twitter, when you look at this, it's negativity. So what does CMX do? I'm mindful of what I allow in my
In your
life. Very, very, yeah, in my mind, in my spirit, I'm very mindful of that. And I try all my best to stay away from that toxic environment, negative environment. What do you fill your mind with? Because garbage in, garbage out, it's going to happen in your life. I am surrounded by amazing people that, even though when we're discussing the challenges that this world is facing, we're discussing it from a different level of consciousness, to say
Yeah.
what are the positive things that we can take from here. You understand? I pursue and immerse myself in the content that builds. But here's another thing that I can share with people. Being happy is a choice. Our happiness must never be based on the happenings, because we are never going to be happy if our happiness, if our inspiration is based on what is happening around us. In fact, the word inspiration is a grammatic construct of two words.
Yeah.
In spirit. That's where the
Yeah.
word inspiration comes from. So when you are
Yeah.
inspired, it means you are acting from the spirit. So I always try to draw within, to be inspired, to draw in spirit. That's what makes me to go. And like I'm saying, I decide in the morning, today I'm going to be happy. Today I'm going to share. Even if you can come and throw your negativity, I've already made a decision that today I'm
Yeah.
going to be happy. Not because I don't have challenges. No. I do have challenges. Not because I don't have problems. No. But I'm saying, even my problems, I'm going to approach them with a happy heart, with a happy soul. And when you do that, the universe opens up and it starts to blister you around. It starts to make you beautiful things. They come to show up in your life.
Yeah.
Good news, they start to come in your life. There are things that I never want to hear. There are
Yeah.
conversations I don't want to hear. Mama, like, I don't want to hear them, because what's meant for me will come to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will not go out of, no, I missed in, Mama, no, I don't know them, because I don't even want to know them, because I know everyone that I'm supposed to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. We love your work. I personally love your work. We wake up to your inspiration each and every day. How do you draw inspiration from your work, and how helpful is your work towards your life?
Yeah. I normally say to people, every post that I publish,
Yeah.
number one, it's meant for me and not for anyone else.
Wow. Okay.
So my work, I'm speaking to myself first. If it doesn't inspire me, I will not do it.
That's very
So
powerful.
my work must inspire me first before it goes out to inspire other people.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
my work inspires me because I wonder, in the work that I'm doing, I ask myself, if it doesn't inspire me, so would I be happy with the level of performance that I am giving out? And I demand the best from myself, D. I demand nothing but the best from myself. In fact, I live with a philosophy that says you do not have the right to demand from other people what you cannot demand from yourself. You do not have
Wow.
the right to demand from other people what you cannot demand from yourself. So I demand excellence from myself. I demand high quality from myself. It's either I'm going to do it right and well, or I'm not going to do it. So my work inspires me. When I go
Yeah.
out to give a talk, I hold myself to account to say, you either gonna do the greatest job that you have never done before. You're gonna hold yourself to the highest standard of performance more than ever before. Otherwise,
Wow.
if you don't, then you may as well leave it. So I realize that as I focus on this work that I do, automatically I get to inspire so many people around me. But my purpose is not to inspire other people. It's to inspire me to be a big fan of myself. Is to inspire me to continue to give remarkable performance and world-class performance in everything that I'm doing. And as I let my own light shine, I automatically give other people permission to do the same.
That's very true. That's a quote. I know that quote. Our deepest years.
Our deepest Marianne Williamson. Yeah.
That's so amazing. I'm touched by that, and I'm going to use it in my everyday life. And you always consider yourself as someone who asks life's biggest questions. And maybe can you emphasize on us, why is it important for us to ask life's biggest questions?
Wow. I need to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying this conversation, and lately I'm turning down a lot of invitations for interviews, because
Yeah.
very seldom you find people who speak to your heart. And I think this conversation, honestly, it's one of those beautiful conversations that I like, and particularly about the questions that you like. Please put the question again for those who may have missed it, because I can't wait to get into it.
The question is, I consider himself as someone who asks life's biggest questions. My question is, why is it important for us to ask life's biggest question?
We grow up in a world that wants to condition us. The world that defines us.
True.
It's either you are pink or you are blue. It's either you are this or that.
Absolutely.
You know, the world that says this is how the world is. You can't bash the world too much. I mean, the world's too much. This is how you need to go it. We want a path, because we believe there's a path for success.
That's
and I'm saying a big BS, because there's no path to success. So basically, the urge to ask life's biggest questions is, I'm not this or that. I want to be this and that. I don't want to choose pink or blue. I want to be both. I want to be pink and blue. Why do you limit me? Like, why do you tell me this is how it's supposed to be? You understand? Don't tell me there are walls. I want to know, why are there walls here? What are these walls for? Why do you say I can't do this, but I can only... Why do you have to do that? Like, you understand? So that's my edge for life's biggest questions. And I mean it, D. It is in my quest to answer life's biggest questions where my life has changed completely.
Yeah.
My life changed completely when I started to ask life's biggest question. And I'll make an example. I started to ask a question, what is God?
Yeah.
In a panel, I remember I had that show while I was still at Motsweding FM, in a panel of pastors, and I was asking them, what is God? But no. You don't say what is God, say who is God. Nonsense. Because when you already say who is God, you have already personified God. Who said God is a person?
Yeah.
And I said, what is God? What is this thing called God?
Yeah.
Number two, I ask questions. Is God a Christian? Questions that many people don't want to ask, because God is not a Christian, but people are afraid to say it. So I started to ask that life's biggest question, to say, is God a Christian? Let's be honest. You know, it is in my quest to ask life's biggest questions, where the greatest revelations and the greatest shift happen in my life. So we're afraid and we're conditioned to never ask life's biggest questions because they're going to mess us up. You know, you're going to fall from grace. You're going to be rebellious. No. You're not going to be controllable. Yeah, that's the thing. You're not going to be controllable. Why the fuck would you want to say sex is evil? I mean, you know, things like that, you know, topics like that. So I went deeper to ask life's biggest question to say, but how does this beautiful thing, experience, meditative, why do you call it evil? You know, politician, you know, I started to ask so many questions. So it liberates, that's what I can say, it liberates. So
yeah,
you cannot be liberated if you are not ready to ask life's biggest questions. And we are taught and conditioned to never ask life's biggest questions. We are conditioned, even our kids right now, we are programming them to never ask life's biggest question because we say it's blasphemous. No, it's sin to not. So in the pursuit of asking life's biggest questions, it just liberates your soul.
Absolutely. We are going to our last question for the interview. I want this interview to go on forever and ever, but unfortunately, we can't. So, one last question, ke gore, I think purpose is a very important thing. It forms part of who we are, and maybe you can help us. How can we find our purpose in life, Sir Max? How can we go about navigating and finding our purpose? Because I believe it is something that comes us, it's something that helps us to reality check our lives. So how can we find purpose? Our purpose.
The future of work, is in our purpose.
Yeah.
I said the idea of jobs are completely obliterated because the future of work is in your purpose, and the future of work is in your calling.
Yeah.
So purpose becomes very, very key. And let me make a difference between careers. You know, when we grow up, we are taught to pursue careers.
Yes.
I hate careers because careers have destroyed the world. Careers are conditioning you. And one thing I don't like about careers is that every career has got a lifespan.
Yeah.
What happens when the lifespan of your career comes to an end? There are two most important days in any person's life. That is the day you were born and the day you discover why you were born. Unfortunately, we grow up in a society that places emphasis on only the day you were born. And I'm not saying we shouldn't celebrate our birthdays. I'm saying there's a day more important than your birthday, and that is the day you were born. When you answer or discover why you were born, you discover your purpose and you discover your calling. But here are 5 questions that will help everyone watching this broadcast to find their purpose if they have not yet found their purpose. 5 questions that you truthfully have to ask to answer them. Number 1, what is it that you would not mind to do for the rest of your life, even if you are not getting paid to do it? In other words, you would wake up every day, 365 days, going to do this thing, even if you're not paid a cent. What is it that you would not mind to do for the rest of your life, even if you're not getting paid to do it? Number 2, what is it that when you see or when you hear about, it evokes in you feelings that makes you like you are God Almighty? Even though when you've got nothing, when you are in the taco, but when you see this thing or you read about this thing paging through a book, you see it, or when you see it somewhere, it evokes feelings that makes you like, I'm God Almighty.
Yeah.
What is it? Number 3, what is it that when you do, it brings so much joy that you even forget that time exists when you do it?
Yeah.
Number 4, what is it that when you do it effortless? For other people to get the same results, they have to put in so much work in doing it. But for you, it's like just coming naturally. What is it?
Mm.
The last question, go to people who were there when you were growing up. Ask them to tell
Mm.
you, where have your interest always been as a kid?
Mm.
Because there are always signs, there are always symbols, there's always a sign of
Mm.
what we are supposed to do on earth. But unfortunately, our parents and our guardians do not pay much attention into that, and we end up
Yeah.
missing the big moments of our lives. So basically, I'm saying many of the things that traditionally we considered hobbies,
Mm.
in the days of CVs, where things that we call extramural activities, for many
Yeah.
people, that's where lies your purpose. That's where your
Mm.
purpose is. So all the
Mm.
things that we considered hobbies, what, for many people, that is where your purpose is. So these 5 things, answers to these 5 things, will give you a glimpse or a beam of what your purpose here on earth is.
Kamaku, for such beautiful, beautiful inspiration and knowledge. This brings us to the end of our conversation. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for continuing to influencing us and inspiring us to have high potential and high performance in our livelihoods. We thank you so much, Temex. We appreciate your work. We appreciate your contribution, and I hope that this live broadcast will touch the right people and they will impart some wisdom and knowledge from this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dee. I want to say I give thanks to those who came before us, and I give thanks to those who are with us, and I give
Yes.
thanks to those who are yet to come, because
Mm.
we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. We stand on the shoulders of the giants.
Yeah.
Tamako.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all who joined the conversation. Thank you so much. Until next time. Thank you, Samex. Bye.
Tamako.
Kamaku.